Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. The Biden press with a little pep in its step today after learning that Israeli professor Gal Luft had been indicted by the Department of Justice. In 2019, Gal Luft informed the DOJ that Joe Biden, his son, and brother were taking money from the Chinese to push the CCP's agenda here in the United States, an allegation that is treasonous in nature. The FBI sent 6 agents to Belgium to meet with Luft, who told them the Bidens had an FBI connection who was feeding classified information to Chinese communist officials. Many of Gal Luft's allegations were verified when Hunter Biden's laptop was found. Another whistleblower told me exclusively that Gal Luft's 14-minute testimonial that was given to the New York Post last week jives perfectly with his experience working with Joe and Hunter Biden in China. You also have the banking records obtained by House Republicans that match his testimony as well. Luft, a mild-mannered professor, has been running a think tank with a former CIA director for years. The DOJ has charged Luft with being an unregistered foreign agent. They claim he's an arms dealer. Gal Luft says he's never sold a bullet in his life. He doesn't look like the kind of guy that would. He says this is simply retaliation for his efforts to expose Joe Biden's allegedly treasonous corruption. And the truth is, Gal Luft's explanation tracks. It tracks with IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley's testimony, and it certainly tracks with the testimony given by Rob Walker and Tony Bobulinski, 2 men who both worked with the Bidens in China. But some people refuse to acknowledge all of this. This was MSNBC's morning show today, ripping Congressman James Comer's appearance on this very show from last week after Gal Luft finally resurfaced.
He's very credible, and the people on MSNBC who made fun of me when I said we had an informant that was missing, they should feel like fools right now.
They are fools.
And this is their worst nightmare because, again, this is a credible witness that the FBI flew all the way to Brussels to interview and sent several agents to interview.
So to recap, Joe, this man Gal Luft, who James Comer and
hold on.
Stupidity.
Yeah. I gotta say,
wow.
Comer's right.
That Comer.
I feel like a fool. I mean, seriously, how could we have ever doubted this guy? How could we have doubted Comer?
Comer Simpson.
Imagine watching this show. A lot of people do. Somebody should probably point out to these regime shills that there is a mountain of evidence that the DOJ is corrupt in all this and has been covering up for the Biden's influence peddling. They should probably know that that's the real story. And that evidence is everywhere, by the way. Perhaps these talking heads would be a little more skeptical of this indictment if they'd been reporting all the details of this story for the past few years instead of wearing blinders like a priest at a brothel. But no, Gal Luft has been indicted. That's all these people need. And so they continue to simp so very hard for Joe Biden. The humiliation that comes with that. Imagine being so scared of Trump, Republicans, that you endlessly support a man who likely sold out your country to its greatest adversary and now cover for him. What must that do to your soul? I guess it's nothing a 7-figure salary can't cure. Here's more of MSNBC's 12-minute segment this morning on the Gal Luft indictment.
He may be the Republicans' great hope, maybe a Chinese spy, illegally smuggling Iranian oil. They keep making fools of themselves. And Comer, I mean, at some point, Comer, who I understand was once a fairly respected member of Congress, if I'm not mistaken from what I've read, at some point you've got to quit while you're behind.
The irony of that comment about Congressman James Comer. In reality, Joe Scarborough used to be a respected Republican. And now, to borrow a term from networks like MSNBC and the rest of the loony left, Joe Scarborough is acting like an agent of the Biden regime, or maybe an agent of China, or both. how else could you possibly explain how they've covered this story? How else could you possibly explain this level of capitulation? Now, we have to say, we don't know whether the charges against Gal Luft are true. We don't just blindly defend people like they do on the other networks. But even if they are true, how would that matter if his allegations against Joe Biden and the Biden family are so clearly corroborated by so many other various sources? Why would that detail even matter? Criminals can know things. Criminals can have information. Luft disclosed during the Brussels interview that CEFC was paying $100,000 a month to Hunter and $65,000 to his uncle Jim Biden in exchange for their FBI connections and use of the Biden name to promote China's Belt and Road Initiative around the world, and that the money was being funneled through Rob Walker. Rob Walker told the IRS that Joe Biden was clearly in on the dealings. Tony Bobulinski said the exact same thing. Gal Luft, Gary Shapley, the second unnamed IRS whistleblower, the gay Democrat as they describe him, Rob Walker, Tony Bobulinski, and Hunter Biden's own laptop with his own emails, his own voice, his own text messages. This story is oozing with credible confirmation. It's everywhere. And yet at other networks and a lot of other mainstream media sites, this is just a crazy conspiracy theory from those wild idiot MAGA types. And the same DOJ that's working to imprison Trump for the rest of his life for mishandling classified documents says that this guy is an arms dealer. And you know what? Maybe he is. We don't know. But if he is, we'll report it before anyone else, while reminding you that he's just one of many alleging that Joe Biden and the Department of Justice are corrupt. All right, Trump's former director of national intelligence, Ric Grenell, joins me now. Good to have you back on, Rick. The indictment of Gal Luft obviously comes down, and I'm not going to sycophantically defend Luft the way the media is defending Biden right now. I don't know whether or not any of these charges are true. We don't know. But I do know that the allegations that Gal Luft made about Biden and China specifically are backed up by a wealth of evidence and informants and whistleblowers. And these charges don't change that.
Look, I think the fact is when the government indicts a whistleblower, shortly after the whistleblower comes forward with explosive charges, that the government now is in the position of having to prove why they are indicting somebody who is making these charges against them. It absolutely looks terrible. We know that this is a pattern. I don't think that you and I would be having this conversation if this was a one-off, if this was just something that was very unique. But Rob, this is a pattern. This is what we keep seeing from the DOJ and from the FBI. The weaponization of government is out of control with Democrats. And if people fear their government, if they fear big tech, if they fear the big universities, the big man, they've got to look at this instance and say, what the heck is going on? Yeah. Why are they going after this guy? We need to get to the bottom of this. And once again, we need to have someone in Congress on the House side, because they have a little power, immediately hold DOJ to account. Maybe it needs to be in a secret meeting so that the public doesn't get all of the information, because this is a process. Okay, we might need to do that. But the government doesn't get the benefit of the doubt in this case.
Yeah, well said. Listen to this news reporter. This is just the news reporter on MSNBC telling the Gal Luft indictment story the only way, I guess, MSNBC knows how. Take a listen to this.
Prosecutors have now indicted the man who repeatedly, but without substantiation, accused the Biden family of corruption. A copy of the indictment reviewed by NBC News reveals a host of charges against Gal Luft for operating as an unregistered foreign agent, working to advance the interests of China in the United States.
So just to start, she says without substantiation on Gal Luft's allegations, there have been at least 5 different layers of substantiation for these allegations. You've got Tony Bobolinsky, you've got Rob Walker, you've got Hunter Biden's laptop, you've got banking records that the Oversight Committee collected. So I guess that makes 4 at this point. And the second part of that, she reads the FARA Act charges, neglecting to point out that these same exact charges could have been brought against Hunter Biden, but mysteriously are not.
Look, for our viewers, people need to understand that there is this rule within the media that during the day you're supposed to do straight news, and at night it can be opinion. Chris Jansen here is during the day, and MSNBC claims that they have straight reporters during the day. She is constantly shilling for the Democrats during the day. And look, I think that NBC News, which immediately changes reporters between MSNBC and NBC, you can be an MSNBC reporter and be on NBC in a drop of a hat. There is no wall between those two anymore, and they need to be held to account. Somebody on the board at NBC needs to say, what's going on? Why are we so opinionated during the day? Right. And why are we not more balanced and doing straight news?
And it's not even opinionated. It's a lie. There's substantiation for these allegations all over the place. It's just that MSNBC has been just doing this the whole time. They're holding their ears, they're closing their eyes, acting like it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean it's not there. And that is just a humiliating moment for anybody that's just a straight news reader on television. That's as bad as it gets. Rick, good to see you as always. Thank you so much.